Hey, boys and girls, happy Friday. Today we are going to jump right into chapter 10, which is two-dimensional figures. What we're going to do is, I know you guys don't have your books, so that's okay. I want you to make sure that you are taking notes with me. Don't have to necessarily take down the definitions, but you have to make sure you're looking at the definitions. So today you'll do a slideshow where you have to match the definition with each. Let's make this bigger. You'll have to match the definition to like what the term is. But Mrs. Frazee is actually putting together a nice list for you of the terms and definitions. So you have to make sure that you're looking at that. So you don't have to write out each of these definitions, but you do have to make sure you look at them either here, but it'll be a lot easier looking at a Google Doc with all the definitions. And that will be up. It should be in your assignments. Okay, so we're going to jump into lines, rays, and angles. So if you take a look, and this would be in your book, I just wrote it out bigger for you. Okay, so a point. It's just one dot. Now, I am not the best at explaining this because I have to sit here and draw it out. I am putting up 2 videos, maybe more, that goes over each of these, and he does an amazing job. I love the guy from Math Antics. So make sure you watch those, and me as well. Okay. All right. So a point is just a point. Anywhere could be points. Okay. And how we draw it is we draw a point and we say, we make it like a letter A. So a point is an exact location in space. And how we would say it, we would just say point A. How we would write it would be point A. Okay. Now a line is a straight path of points that continues both directions. That's why when you draw it, you have arrows going both ways. Think of a number line. Number lines go both ways forever and ever and ever. So, and then you would have like 2 points on this line. So B and C. So you would say it line BC, and how you would write it would be a smaller version of that with the arrows BC. Or you could also say it, the smaller arrows, CB. It could go either way. It doesn't matter. So lines go on forever and ever and ever. You can't always see those lines that go on forever. What you see normally in life is a line segment, and that's our next word. So a line segment is a part of a line between 2 endpoints. So how we would draw it, we'd have this is an endpoint and another end point. So this would be called line segment. How you would say it, line segment DE. And how we would write it would just be a smaller, you don't have to do the end points. You just could do like a line and you'd say DE, or you could say ED. But how, with reading, we read from left to right. So I always, when I'm labeling them and writing them, I always just think, okay, DE. It's just easier. Okay. A ray is a point on a line that has one end point and continues without end on the other direction. I think of a ray of sunshine, like you have it, like it starts off like the sun in the ball, and that's the end point, and then it just shoots out in one direction. So how you would draw it would be one end point here, which I have labeled F, and then it goes on forever and ever and ever this direction. So that's why we have a arrow pointing this way, that it goes on forever and ever and ever. And I labeled that point G. So you would say ray FG, and you would write it as a smaller ray and name it FG. This one in particular, you can't go GF backwards because it doesn't, you have to start where your end point is. So that's why I always like to just say it the way left to right. And then an angle is formed by 2 rays or line segments that have the same end point. So if you could see it, I drew it very tiny down here, but so I have this drawing. Here's my end point, which is called the vertex. When 2 angles or 2 rays meet at one point, that is called the vertex. Now, you should have learned that in 3rd grade. Okay, so here I have this ray going this way and this ray going this way. And the two together form this angle here. So we have PQR. So we could say this is angle PQR. We could say this is angle RQP. Or we could say this is angle Q. I think that's the best way because you just have to say it or like write it once. And it's always going to be the end point. Notice here where I wrote it, PQR, the Q is in the middle with my vertex, or you could just write the Q, or you could do PQR and the Q's in the middle. I could not do QPR because that's not in like a sequential, like it's not going together continuously. We're going to practice some now. There's different names for angles as well. Let's get that going. Okay, so let's talk about some of these angles. Now, last year you learned like greater than a right angle or less than a right angle. This year we are going to actually name them. And I'm pretty sure, I know like when I taught third grade, I kind of give you guys like an idea of what those angles names were. So hopefully you've heard of them. If not, you'll hear them now. But so a right angle, it forms a square corner. It forms 90 degrees. That's why remember when we were in school and I had those like math puns up on the board? It said never argue with a 90-degree angle because it's always right. But I'm bumped because a 90-degree angle measures at 90 degrees, a right angle. And it forms a little corner. Like you could, with a piece of paper, if you had a Post-it or a piece of paper, like I have a Post-it here, hopefully mine comes out nice. If you put the corner of the Post-it, and I know I did this in third grade too, to the vertex, and it should like make a 90-degree angle. It should make a square. So that's a good way to measure a right angle. A straight angle forms a line. So again, it has an endpoint, but it goes in both directions forever and ever and ever. It doesn't have an endpoint. There's a point, but it goes on forever this way and forever this way. So a straight angle is a straight line, which measures 180 degrees. We're going to do more measuring next in a chapter or so. Acute angle is less than a right angle. I always think of it like the word cute, like, oh, it's tiny and cute, like a little puppy, like, oh, it's less than a right angle. It's smaller. So it could be 45 degrees. It could be anything less than 90 degrees really is an acute angle. Okay. And an obtuse angle, obtuse is bigger. That is greater than a right angle and less than a straight angle. So it's going to be greater than an acute one and greater than a 90-degree angle, a right angle, but it's going to be less than a straight angle. So if I put my piece of paper here in the corner of my paper, and whoops, gotta put it in the right spot. In the corner of my paper and on the vertex here where both rays connect to make that angle, you can see that if it was going up straight, it would be a right angle. If it was coming in a little bit over here, it'd be less than a right angle, which would be an acute angle. But because this other ray is pointing out further than this line, it is an obtuse angle. Okay? All right. Okay, so today in the slideshow, you are going to have some lines, rays, or angles, and you are going to have to like drag over and name each one. So let's do a few examples to help you. So this first one here, you have to think, is it a line segment, a ray, or an angle? Now, because I have arrows going both directions, and this is where that definitions chart is going to help you. It is super important for you guys to look at that, have that handy nearby. If you have a printer, you can maybe even print it and have it nearby, or take your time and write it out in your notebook. Because I know for me, learning things, it helps me to write things down. Even if I have it there and I'm just reading it over, it helps with the definitions to write it out. So make flashcards for yourself if you'd like. So if you look here, we have arrows going in both directions. So it is a line. Okay. So it's a line. And how I would write that out would be a tiny arrow both ways and label it X, Y. Okay? Now here we have an angle, right? This is a ray. This is another ray. They connect at one point, which is the vertex. Okay. So how you would write this, now you have to make sure, because the slideshow may be a little tricky. There's two that look very similar to each other. So how I would write this, because B is my vertex where the endpoints meet, that letter has to be in the middle. So I would do angle. That's our sign for an angle. Even though this is an obtuse angle, one that's greater than 90 degrees, the sign when you write it is this sign. It's an acute angle is the sign that you would use. So angle, and then I would just do A, B, C. A, B, C. You could also do it C, B, A, or angle B, because it is our vertex in the middle. Notice it is the middle in each of those, and then it's just the only one there. Okay. But I believe in the slideshow, it's going to be one of those. Just make sure that vertex is in the middle there. Okay, last one. So here we have points. They are not going in both directions. So this is a line segment. Okay, it's a piece. Think about it like if you watch like the news or something, they do segments. Okay, ESPN, our news that we do for you guys, I do different segments. I do a segment on facts. So it's a piece of the whole show. So a line segment is a piece of a line that continues on. So how you would write this line segment, you would say line segment FG, and you would just do a small looking line. Here, I'll do it darker. Okay, and then you would just say FG. You could also for this one do GF, but like I said before, because we read from right to left, I always just like to do the letters from left to right as well. Or I'm sorry, we read left to right. I also like to do the letters from left to right. Okay, one last thing. Okay, last thing, because on the slideshow, you will have something that looks like this figure here. Okay, and it says here, write the word that describes the part of the figure A. So here's this whole thing is a figure. It's consistent of lines and angles and endpoints. So if you look over here, this here, it does not have two arrows, so it's a line segment. So we're going to look for a piece of a line that is BG. So if you look over here, here's B to G. So that's what it's talking about. And so that is a line segment. I'm not going to write it out, but here you would say line segment. If you look here, the arrows are going both ways. So that is a line. So that would be where that goes. And what you need to look here would be here's C, here's D. So it's talking about this whole piece here, this line. Here is the sign for angles. So we have angle FBG. So I see F, B, and G. Okay. Now the B is in the middle, so that's see the middle, the B here. So that's why I'm looking at it F, B, G. Notice the square here in the middle. When angles form a square, they are right angles. So I would write right here, right angle here. Now here we have no arrow on this side and an arrow only on this side. So that's a ray where we have one endpoint and then it goes on forever in the other direction. And we're talking BE. So here's B, here's E. So it's talking about just this piece here, this ray here. And that would be written ray. And then we have an angle. That's a symbol for angle, AGD. So here's G, that's going to be my middle, and we have A and D. So AGD. Now, it looks like if I went from here down like this way, that would be a right angle. So we're looking from here to here, that is smaller than a right angle, so it would be an acute angle. Hope this helps. Make sure that you look at the definitions. That is going to be your saving grace with this. You need to make sure you're paying attention to the directions and the definitions. Watch the other 2 videos because he does a great job explaining it, probably better than me. Okay? I will talk to you guys soon. I'll see you at the meeting. Have a good day.